Welcome to episode 40 of the Toadstool Boardroom for the week of April 19th, 2023. My name's Logan Plant, and I'm joined this week by Chris Schreiber. Hi, Chris.
Hello.
And special guest, Mitchell Saltzman. Hi, Mitchell.
What's up?
Welcome to the Boardroom. We're going to ask you real quick. First, why don't you introduce yourself? And then I've got a very important question for you.
All right. Hey, everyone. I am Mitchell Saltzman. I am a senior editorial producer at IGN. I've been there for about 6 years. Dabbled my toes in a couple of reviews for the last 3 or 4, and that's kind of like my main jam right now. Love doing reviews.
Yeah, we crossed paths on Nintendo Voice Chat a couple times talking about our good friend Sonic T. Hedgehog.
Pretty much every time we're talking about Sonic, it's great. I love it.
Not this time, though. This time we're talking about Link, which I'm very excited about. We're going to talk about that.
Well, I'm going to do something else.
That Tears of the Kingdom trailer from last week. But first, Mitchell, what is your favorite Nintendo game of all time?
Oh, my God. Okay. Couple of different ways to go here. I think single player, nostalgia-wise, it's probably Super Mario 64. If I'm talking about like what's the best, in my estimation, the best Nintendo game of all time, I would probably say Super Mario Galaxy 2.
Ooh.
And if we're talking about like, what's the Nintendo game that means the most to me, it's probably Super Smash Bros. Melee.
I love all of those picks. Yeah. Especially Melee. I really love Melee and still watch it sometimes and play it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not like one of those hyper competitive Melee players that's like, everything after Melee is garbage. Like I think, Ultimate is probably my preferred Smash Bros. Game, the one that I would play with other people. But Melee was just like such an important game to me at a certain time in my life. Like when I was going into college, it helped introduce me to friends. It helped my social life tremendously and just kind of really helped me get through that early period of college.
Well, Melee is a great pick. Galaxy 2 is a great pick. I really like that game. And I ask you because next week on the Toadstool Boardroom, we're going to start our countdown of the top 15 best Nintendo games of all time. Ooh. These are some pre-recorded shows because this is actually our last live recording before I go off to Japan for 3 weeks, starting in 2 days, actually, which I'm super
for vacation?
About. Yeah, just taking 3 weeks off.
Dude, that's awesome. Living the dream.
It's actually my college graduation trip that's been delayed 3 years because of the pandemic, so... Finally making it happen. I'm not really even calling it that anymore. But we weren't going to leave the Boardroom listeners high and dry, so we pre-recorded Chris, me, and Justin, who's not here this week, pre-recorded 2 episodes. Part 1 is coming out next week on April 27th, and then Part 2 is the following Thursday on May 4th, and we're going to make a list of the top 15 best Nintendo games ever. Chris, we've already made this list. How's it, without any spoilers, how's it sitting with you? About a month since we've done this, a few weeks.
It's keeping me up at night still. I haven't slept in a whole month.
Yeah, just because of this. It gets heated. There's some heated debates.
It does get heated.
Yeah.
Did Galaxy 2 make the list?
Galaxy 2 didn't even come up.
Wow. Okay. All right. Well.
Yeah. So then we're taking May 11th off, and then we'll be back on Thursday, May 18th. With our first Tears of the Kingdom impressions. I can't believe that is that close. But we got an email at toadstoolboardroom@gmail.com from our loyal listener, Tim, who says, "Hey, Boardroom, top Nintendo games is such a tough question. Best of luck narrowing it down to 15. I could think of at least 5 I could nail as my favorite Nintendo game, but one game I do hope to see make it is Donkey Kong Country 2, Diddy's Conquest. While there are more modern games that do more, I think especially for its time, I'm sorry. I'm laughing because this game does come up on the show, Tim. It does come up. I won't tell you its fate, but it does get brought up. But Tim says it was a perfect sequel, and I dare say a perfect game. On top of looking and sounding stunning with heaps of aesthetic variety, the gameplay and level design are top-notch. Looking forward to hearing your full list, Tim. So Tim, your pick comes up on the show. We won't reveal its fate here, though.
Mine doesn't.
No, it doesn't come up at all. Tim, if you're ever in Pennsylvania, hit me up. I will buy you a drink, and I will leave it at that.
And you can play Donkey Kong Country 2 together. Yeah.
That's right.
Okay, let's get into the big topic, which is that final Zelda Tears of the Kingdom trailer. It came down the day after we recorded last week, so we just missed it. We've had a lot of time to sit on this. I've written, I think, 4,000 words on IGN about this trailer alone this time. I've watched it between 40 and 50 times. I'm absolutely in love with this trailer. It gives us our first full look at Ganondorf. It finally shows what happened to Zelda after she falls in that chasm in the very first Tears of the Kingdom trailer. We see returning characters from Breath of the Wild like Riju and Sidon and Teba's son Tolan, which is an interesting kind of wrinkle I didn't see coming. We see villagers fighting alongside Link, taking up arms and fighting waves of enemies, and a ton of new gameplay teases, like Link wearing a flying squirrel suit, flying through a laser tunnel, and just a ton of other stuff. So, Mitchell, I'll go your way first. Impressions of this final trailer, pre-launch for Tears of the Kingdom.
We were talking a little bit about it before we started recording, but man, Nintendo knows how to make a launch Zelda trailer, because I honestly think this is one of the best trailers of all time. It's just one of those trailers that you kind of watch at the beginning and you're like, okay, it starts off very somber. You're like, oh, this is interesting. Where's this going? And then it just like builds and builds and builds and builds, and the music starts picking up. And by the end, you're like, you got goosebumps. You're like pumping your arm. You're like, yeah, let me see that sword with the shield on it. It's just an incredible trailer. I think Matt Kim at IGN did an article about how like this was the Zelda trailer that he had been waiting for. And I think that's kind of, it rings true, I think, with a lot of people. It delivered on all fronts. It was everything that I think a lot of people were hoping to see. We got like teases at potentially dungeons. I haven't watched your article yet. Do you think, is that confirmation that we're going to get dungeons, like the little lava area and like the wind area?
I don't know about those specific areas, but I think that we did see a dungeon coming out of the ground in that early opening moments of the trailer when a giant structure is coming out of the sand in Gerudo Desert. Like maybe it's a return from Arbiter's Grounds from Twilight Princess or something like that, or just an entirely new place. But I definitely think they're teasing dungeons. As far as that big lava underground area where he's like fighting the construct on the minecart, Nintendo's website says like, get ready to explore like chasms that have opened from the chunks of the ground that are now in the sky. So maybe that's kind of the take on dungeons, is just like these underground areas that have combat and puzzle sections. But I definitely think there's something besides the shrine-like puzzles from Breath of the Wild that we haven't seen yet that will just be a total surprise for us to uncover.
Yeah, I think the big curiosity in my mind is if we are getting those dungeon-like experiences, are we also going to get the same wealth of puzzle shrines or puzzle rooms, I guess, even if they don't call them shrines? What is going to take that, the place of that? Because, and hey, maybe they're going to do both. Maybe they're going to be absolutely like crazy and just do both of them. But I've always kind of justified that the reason why they had a lack of dungeons in Breath of the Wild was because of the fact that they split up all the puzzles that they would have put in those dungeons into this massive amount of shrines that just were strewn across the map. So if they can manage to do both of them, oh my god, I can't even imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. I do still think I'm still holding out for dungeons. I do think that these underground cave sections might be the shrine replacement. In the 10-minute gameplay footage from Aonuma, we saw like little tunnel icons on the map that had like checkboxes by some of them, and some weren't checked. So clearly there's some sort of objective to go and complete in these tunnel areas that we don't really know yet. But Chris, let's get your take on this trailer.
Yeah, I mean, similar to Mitchell, like the day that this came out, I felt like I could run through a wall. I felt like I could do anything after I watched this for the first time. It's pretty unbelievable how they're able to. And they did a similar thing with Splatoon, where months leading up to it, we were going, oh my God, I feel like we don't know anything about this game. And then they have that one content drop that answers so many questions, but then presents enough that you're like, I need the game yesterday. There were a lot of things in it though that surprised me, like the inclusion of villagers in so many different shots. Like it seems like they're really trying to hark on the fact that you are going to be working with like the residents of Hyrule in whatever it is that's going on in this game. Whether it's like different encampments or whatever, fetch quests, I don't know. But that was one aspect that like, like we really didn't have that in Breath of the Wild. So that could be interesting. The dungeon component, I do agree. I feel like there's going to end up being almost like a mid-sized dungeon type thing where it's not going to be like maybe quite as lengthy as something that you would see in Wind Waker or Skyward Sword or any of the other like mainline Zelda titles. But not something that you could blow through in 5 minutes like you could in some of the shrines in Breath of the Wild. There may not be as many of them, but I think if they're of a higher quality, that's probably a good thing. Not that I thought some of the shrines were totally throwaway, but some of them were pretty easy.
Yeah.
Maybe they were throwaway.
Yeah, I would say, like, how many minor or major tests of strength are there in the shrines where you just fight the same little guardian robot over and over? You could have trimmed down the number of shrines by, I think, 30, and Breath of the Wild would have been a stronger game, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But I adored this trailer. Like, I'll jump into what I thought now. I thought this was just a magnificent look at this game, and unlike what seems to be the popular opinion, I have been hyped from the other trailers, but I think that's just the Zelda fanatic in me that knows I'm going to love and play this game to death no matter what. And I think that you look at just sales numbers for the Zelda series as a whole, so many more people played Breath of the Wild than have played basically every other entry in the series. So it makes sense that there's a lot of people that are like, well, what's this going to do different than basically the one Zelda game I have an attachment to? I have an attachment to literally all of them, so I'm just thrilled to see what's going to happen. But that being said, I still thought this by far was the most hyped trailer. I thought the music was just excellent. The little cues in there, like Ganondorf's theme from Ocarina of Time, or the Breath of the Wild theme had a little bit of cues in the symphony score for this trailer, or the original Zelda title screen making an appearance when they do the logo splash at the beginning of the trailer. It was just perfectly done. I think that for months I've been seeing on Twitter, when is Tears of the Kingdom going to get that trailer that lives up to that Breath of the Wild trailer from January 2017? It's like, well, you got it. You finally got it last week, and I've been holding out thinking we were going to, and we finally did. And I loved the look at Ganondorf. I thought his reveal was perfect. I'm excited that he is coming back, and his design is amazing, and the internet certainly thinks that it's pretty amazing too. A lot of thirst for Ganondorf out there, which I didn't necessarily expect. But yeah, I think they're doing a really good job at raising more questions and answering none of them. Like, we've seen a lot of clips of this game. We still don't know anything. Like, there's theories out there that this is taking half in the present day and half 10,000 years ago. And there's a lot of evidence to support that, and a lot of evidence to say, well, maybe that's not the case. And it's amazing that we have really no idea still what's going on in this game. But yeah, there's a lot of theories out there, and I just loved this look so much. And for me, it topped the Breath of the Wild trailer. I liked it more. I think that this looks like a more story-heavy game, kind of Chris and I were chatting before the show, and this showed some of those elements, and a lot of mysterious villains. People think Demise from Skyward Sword is in this game. The Zonai ancient race is back in Hyrule that was mentioned in Breath of the Wild, but never actually seen on screen. Like, this just, it feels like the end of, I don't know, an arc or something for the Zelda series, the culmination of lore from the entire 3D history of the series. And I just can't wait to see how it all plays out.
It almost, and they haven't said anything, but like for some reason, even leading up to this, it almost feels like it's like the end of Aonuma's like reign of being like the Zelda man. You know what I mean? Being that executive producer. They haven't said that it is, but it feels very finite. Like Breath of the Wild didn't have that type of tone to it, and this does.
Yeah, what I think is really special. Oh, go ahead, Mitchell.
I was just gonna say, you know what I also like about this trailer is that like the performance looks solid. Like,
yeah,
it doesn't look jittery. Like, you know, you look at a lot of the Pokemon Arceus trailers, and like, you know, you can watch some of that and be kind of worried about the performance of it. But everything that we see in this trailer is super smooth. You know, obviously it's 30 FPS, but that's fine, you know, for a game like this on the Switch. Mm-hmm. But everything keeps at a very consistent frame rate despite the massive amount of, like, I'm just watching the trailer again. There's that part where like he shoots the little totem and it spins around shooting lasers, all super smooth. So to me, that's the most comforting thing, because, you know, performance on Switch games is a bit of concern. and I'm very excited that it looks pretty solid so far.
Yeah, absolutely. We're seeing performance issues from some first-party games like Pokemon and third-party games across the board, but then seeing Splatoon 3, which runs at a smooth, gorgeous 60 FPS, and then what they're doing with Zelda also. It's like Nintendo still knows what they're doing on their own hardware, even if some other developers don't. So, yeah, that is really good to see. I would go into what Chris said about Aonuma and this maybe being the end of his reign as Zelda series producer. I just think back to this quote all the time that happened back before Breath of the Wild was even announced. This was after the launch of Skyward Sword, and Aonuma said, "It's my turn now to leave my mark on the Zelda series." And he said that he followed kind of the template laid out from the early days of Zelda, from the Miyamoto days, from all that, from Link to the Past, Ocarina of Time, for so long. And then after Skyward Sword, he was like, all right, it's my turn now. And just looking at what they've done now is just incredible. Like, they absolutely did that. They made the game that is the definitive Legend of Zelda game now, in most people's eyes. And now they're making a sequel that, for my money, looking at it now, I feel like is going to make Breath of the Wild look like a proof of concept. Like, when Tears of the Kingdom dropped, there is so much packed in there that the enemy variety, we saw a ton of bosses in this trailer. The sky, the underground, and the overworld, like 3 distinct areas to explore. It looks just twice as big as Breath of the Wild, which is already an enormous game. And I just can't even believe what they've done. It's no wonder this thing took 6 years to make, because it is just packed. And I think the last week I've been thinking a lot about, like, man, how are people ever doubting them? Like, people like, it looks like DLC, it's not going to be different at all. And then this trailer is just like, really? You really thought Nintendo wasn't going to wow you with a 4-minute trailer a month before this game came out, just like they did last time? It's just, yeah, the Zelda team's the best, and I'm confident this game is going to live up to or exceed Breath of the Wild. That's my lofty expectations for it.
I want to know what DLC people are playing that makes me think this looks like
this
DLC.
big.
Yeah.
What? How do you even think that? It's such a crazy thing to say.
Yeah.
Just because it like has the same graphics engine?
Yeah, or the same world, like it's the same Hyrule, but I didn't play God of War Ragnarok, but wasn't that in the same world as God of War 2018?
Yeah, it's the same world, several, like a time period after the original, but there's a lot of differences that Fimbulvinter has come, so it's like the water is all frozen over, things have changed, but yeah, it is very comparable, I think, to the differences between God of War 2018 and God of War Ragnarok.
Yeah, and I didn't hear anybody calling that game DLC. Maybe I just missed it. I'm not as plugged into that conversation.
No,
but
I mean, that game is very long. People have their opinions of whether or not it's better than the first one, but no, that is a full fat game.
Yeah, but it absolutely is not DLC. This is going to be the biggest Zelda game ever, and I just can't wait to see it. And we have an email kind of talking about some lore stuff that I want to get into, because to me that was the most fascinating part of this trailer. And this comes from our Donkey Kong Country 2 fan Tim, once again sending us an email, toadstoboardroom@gmail.com, who says, "Man, that trailer, huh? I think it captured the thrill and magic, the 2017 Breath of the Wild one, that people have been begging for since the game was first unveiled. My optimism is only being cautious because the 2017 trailer made the game seem like it was going to be much more plot-heavy than it actually was. Not that I'm saying I'm in the Breath of the Wild had no plot camp. I just really hope some of those story elements get fleshed out. There's one thing I can't quite figure out, though. At 1:18, a figure is watching a mass destruction exploding in front of him, with the camera only cutting out just as he's about to turn around. I look at the official art, and I'm not convinced that's Ganondorf. There seems to be a theme of all the timelines coming together, and I think that was Demise. Am I crazy, or are they hinting that this game could also be putting a final end to the curse set upon the world in Skyward Sword? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Keep up the great work. Makes me look forward to my Thursday evening, Tim." Well, thanks so much for that email, Tim. Yeah, this was one of the articles that I wrote that you can check out on IGN about this theory, which is that Skyward Sword's demise is returning, potentially, in Tears of the Kingdom. And yeah, so if you go to that 1:18 mark, I think he's staring at a blood moon. I don't think it's an explosion. I think it's a big blood moon rising from Breath of the Wild. But yeah, he's got the flowing red lava hair, much like Demise. If you don't know, Chris is here playing through it right now. Demise is at the end of Skyward Sword. I won't spoil what happens. Yeah, I'm gonna. Chris, take off your headphones.
Now I know.
Do you know what happens?
Oh no, I'll take them off.
Okay. All right. I'll wave when you can come back. Okay. Demise is the final boss of Skyward Sword, and he is the one that sets the curse on Link and Zelda's bloodline forever to kind of have Demise come and be this evil reincarnate that continues to curse and haunt Zelda and Link's bloodlines. And he usually does that through Ganondorf. And so the theory is that in this game, Ganondorf is going to break that endless cycle of reincarnation and violence by becoming the hero himself and killing Demise alongside Zelda and Link. Which, Mitchell, would be the coolest thing ever. That would be the coolest thing to ever happen in a video game if Ganondorf became the good guy.
I mean, but if that actually happened, wouldn't you feel like you got it spoiled for you?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I have had this theory. This is not related to the end of Skyward Sword, Chris. You're safe now. But I've had this theory that Ganondorf's going to be the hero of this game since the first trailer, like 2 years ago. I've been thinking this for a very long time. And it all goes back to this mural that's in Breath of the Wild when Impa is telling Link the story about this calamity 10,000 years ago. And there's a hero wielding the Master Sword that definitely doesn't look like Link. He's got like orange hair and dark skin like a Gerudo, and he's wearing this torn, tattered green cloth. And so then for a while I was thinking that there's two Links in this game, and that Link that we see wearing the torn green cloth, just like that mural, is actually going to be like a Last of Us Part 2 style palette swap, where that's actually going to be Ganondorf when we get the game in our hands, and they're just showing us that it's Link right now. But now that we have this look at Ganondorf, I'm thinking that maybe he could end up being that hero from 10,000 years ago, which would be awesome.
Man, bold prediction. Very curious to see if Nintendo is willing to go that way. But
The Last of Us mile.
Yeah, we'll see. But it just, I don't know. And then there's the logo is like the Ouroboros, the dragon eating its own tail, which is like hinting at rebirth, reincarnation. Nintendo said they didn't want to reveal the title ahead of time because it would spoil what the story was about. And I'm like, Tears of the Kingdom doesn't really spoil anything. I'm thinking it's more that Ouroboros logo that they wanted to sit on, and it's like, well, why'd you put that in the logo that if you didn't want us to see it? But I'm really thinking that this game is going to end the cycle of Link and Zelda stopping Ganondorf. I think this is it for that. I do. I think that we could see the three Triforce holders unite against a greater threat in this game, which, and then they can do whatever they want after that, and don't have to be beholden to Zelda's captured by Ganon and Link saves her. Like, they could tell it a different way, and I would be totally down for that.
The next Zelda game could be a co-op game with Link and Ganon, Ganondorf, and Zelda all, throwing together.
Too.
Three-player co-op. Let's go.
Yeah, that would be cool. Or just move away from Link. See what happens. I don't know. That might be blasphemy, but make
it's Linkle's turn to shine.
Yeah, or Zelda's turn to shine. Could be cool. But I think there's a lot of things they could do. But it is Nintendo's very tradition-oriented in their storytelling. It's always Mario v. Bowser, Link v. Ganon, Samus v. Ridley. So we'll see if they do that. But it would be pretty bold of them to do it. Yeah. Any last thoughts on Zelda from either of you before we move on to other things?
Put saxophone in every Zelda trailer from this point forward.
Yeah.
When that thing starts ripping, oh my god, it's so good. Yeah.
Very good.
I hope the actual soundtrack is saxophone heavy.
Yes, same.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I'd like a little bit more of a prominent soundtrack in this one than Breath of the Wild, which was very ambient basically the entire time. I'd like a little bit more music featured in this one.
I guess the one thing that I would add is that, I'm so excited for the fusion mechanic, more than anything else, I think, in that game. I love the element of improvisational combat. I don't want to go down the whole of is weapon durability good or bad, but the one thing I will say about it is that there's an element of making things work with a very limited amount of resources in Breath of the Wild. And it was one of my favorite things about that game. And so the aspect of looking around, seeing what you can scrounge together, what you can put on a weapon, and like making it work with that is something that's very exciting to me. And like the ability to kind of, use your brain to kind of come up with interesting combinations to have interesting things happen in the world. That's what's most exciting about this game for me. And I cannot wait to see people's imaginations go crazy, because they already went crazy with Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
And it just seems like they're taking it to a whole other level.
Yeah, like the sandbox videos and GIFs that we're going to get out of this, out of like all these people on Twitch, like it's going to be insane.
Yeah, and it keeps this game alive. Like, how many single player games do you see people posting about on social media consistently 6 years after they come out? I can think of one, maybe. Like, unless somebody's playing something for the first time and they're just like, oh, look, I'm playing like Red Dead 2. But like Breath of the Wild is like, there's like accounts that aggregate trick shots in Breath of the Wild. Like, other single player games don't really have that. And it's kept it alive. It's kept the word of mouth strong. It's why I think Tears of the Kingdom is going to outpace Breath of the Wild in sales. Like, it's going to be massive and a huge launch. And I love to see Nintendo, like you said, leaning into the sandbox element of this, because that is what made Breath of the Wild so unique. They doubled down on that, while also it looks like giving some of the elements that longtime Zelda fans wanted, like more of a story and like more enemy variety and things like that. It's going to be huge. There's not many games where I look at it ahead of launch and I'm like, I think this is going to be my favorite game of all time. But I feel that way about this game. But we'll see. Mitchell, what's your favorite Zelda game?
It's so hard to choose. Again, there's like the nostalgia aspect of it, where like I want to say Ocarina of Time, just because that was the first game that really blew me away in so many different ways. Thinking about just the way that it's changed the landscape of video games, I do think that Breath of the Wild is probably the pick that I would have to go with. I also have like a really soft spot for Twilight Princess.
Oh, good man! Yes,
yeah, I think Twilight Princess gets a bad rap for not very good reasons.
Same.
I think that game has some of the best dungeons in the series, has some of the best items that you can get from those dungeons that completely change up the way you actually navigate through the world and participate in combat. And also just the vibe of it is just really, really cool. I love Midna. And it was kind of that first time we got to experience Link in kind of like a realistic, kind of more gritty art style, which I really appreciated.
Man, I've spent years thinking I was alone, but then we had Odell on this show for the first 6 months of it. His favorite's Twilight Princess. Justin is our other co-host now. He loves Twilight Princess. And then you love it too. It's like, yes, Twilight Princess gang rise up, because it is secretly the best 3D Zelda.
I do want to have a Switch remaster. So it's been a while since I played it. So I would love to re-experience it and see if it holds up to my memory. But yeah, Switch remaster when?
I played it last year, and the game design, the dungeons, all that holds up really well. It does look a little bit rough because they didn't do much to the HD remaster of that game. Like, if they full-blown remade Twilight Princess, it would be, people would realize how great it was.
Mm-hmm.
It looks much better. I'll be that guy. It looks much better on a CRT. It just does. Like the bloom lighting in that game, like off of characters and everything, like it gives it a certain, like it just adds to that like moody vibe that game had. That it just becomes very flat for me at least, in the Wii U release.
I wouldn't know, because GameCube copies have gotten so expensive. And yeah, it's painful. All right, let's keep going here. A little more Zelda talk, and that is a Splatoon 3 and Zelda Splatfest is incoming. If you listen to the Toadstool Boardroom, you heard it here first, because I called this like a year ago when we learned that Splatfest were going to be 3 teams. I said on this show, the week before Tears of the Kingdom, do a Power, Courage, Wisdom one, and boom, here we are. So that's one notch on my belt. But this is super exciting. It is Team Power versus Team Wisdom versus Team Courage. It's running from May 5th at 5 p.m. Pacific to May 7th at 5 p.m. Pacific. And Tricolor Turf Wars are going to take place at a Triforce-shaped stage at Scorched Gorge. So they made a new stage for this game that looks like the Triforce. You have 2 members from each team that start on the corners of the Triforce, and then you duke it out for whichever piece of the Triforce you pick. I think this is such a slam dunk of an idea. I love it so much. And they're also going an extra step, and they're selling these Splatfest shirts on the Nintendo Online store. So you can rep your team of for Link, Ganondorf, or Zelda. And they're using the Twilight Princess designs of them on the shirt, which I was very happy to see. But yeah, Chris, what team would you pick?
Wisdom.
Wisdom, okay. Mitchell?
Ravenclaw gang, rise up.
I mean, I want to be a part of the team that ultimately prevails, so I'm going to be part of Team Courage.
Okay, yeah, I'm Team Courage also. I think that's easily going to be the most popular pick. People want to play for Link.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mitchell, are you much of a Splatoon 3 guy?
I like Splatoon. Every time I love playing Splatoon when it comes out. I go through the campaign, and then I play a little bit of multiplayer when I still have like a bit of an edge, and then people start getting good, and it becomes not fun for me.
That is exactly what happened to us, me and Chris, last year.
Yep.
We played a bunch of times together. I put in like 60 hours in the first month, and then after like the first 2 Splatfests, the casuals dropped off, and It was a war zone out there, and it became pretty tough pretty quick. But I actually picked it back up last month. I was just like, I love Splatoon so much. I've decided to get good at this game, and I am now S+ rank in rank. Wow. So I've climbed the ladder. I've done it. And oh my gosh, when you get to S rank in Splatoon, it just goes S+ forever. Like in a season, you can get to S+ 99, and you're still playing in the same lobbies as people that are S+ 0. So ever since I ranked up to S, the things I'm seeing people do are just absolutely absurd. Like, I am seeing people camp in corners of the map I didn't even know you could get up to. I see people using their specials in just these insane ways. Like, there's the Ultra Stamp, where you, like, run around pounding the ground with a stamp, and at the very end, you can fling that stamp. We were doing splat zones where you need to control a section of ink in the middle of the map, and they wiped us out. They killed all 4 of us, and all 4 of us were swimming back. We had like 10 seconds left on the clock, so we were all going together. And out of nowhere, this ink hammer just comes and hits all 4 of us. We're all dead, and the game is over. I'm like, where even was that guy? Like, it's just, it's pretty intense, and I don't think I'll be ranking up again anytime soon. But it's been really fun to pick back up.
Are you in touch with like the game's meta? Like, do you know what the meta is, and are you like, you know, adopting the meta strategies, or are you getting crushed by it?
There's some S rank weapons on the community tier list that I just think are boring to play. Like, I just really don't like some of the best weapons in the game. So I play dualies, the dual wield pistols that are super mobile, and they are an S rank weapon, so it's kind of the meta, but people kind of agree there's like 10 or 11 weapons that are better than them, but I make do because, I wouldn't have fun if I just played the meta.
Yeah.
But yeah, we should start a Splatoon team, pick it back up. We can...
He's trying to get everybody to do this.
I'm trying to get everybody to
Every
play.
time we talk to somebody.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this, Logan, but it's a very busy time in the world of video games with a bunch of games coming out. I don't know if I have time to join a Splatoon league right now.
I know. I've just been doing it because, like I said, I'm heading on this trip this week, and I didn't have time to like get through any big single player game. And I know that when I get back, it's going to be all Zelda all the time. So I was like, I'll just pick up Splatoon, and I got to my goal of S rank, and I'm not sure where I'm going to go next because I'm capping out pretty hard. Like, I've hit my skill ceiling, and people are starting to waste me. But yeah, I'm not going to be here for the Splatfest. I'm going to be gone. So I probably won't be able to check it out. But Chris, you'll have to hop in for me and tell me how that Triforce map is.
Oh, I definitely will.
Yeah, very cool. Just a slam dunk promotion. They've done it for Pokemon. They did Grass, Fire, Water, and now they're doing this Zelda one also. I really like to see the cross promotion with Splatoon. Very cool. All right, let's move on to our next topic, which is Xenoblade Chronicles 3 DLC is coming next week, and 4 amiibo were revealed. Someone on this panel, maybe two people, are very excited about that. So Wave 4 is called Future Redeemed. It's coming on April 25th, so very soon. This is the original story scenario for the DLC pass, in the vein of Xenoblade Chronicle 1 Definitive Edition's Future Connected, or Xenoblade 2's Torn Out the Golden Country. And this is going to connect all three Xenoblade games. So there's been like crazy lore for years about how all three of these games are connected, and now it's becoming official in this DLC. And then on the amiibo front, the Pyra Mythra Super Smash Bros. Amiibo are coming on July 21st. They unlock a weapon skin in Xenoblade Chronicles 3. And then Noah and Mio Amiibo, those are the protagonists from Xenoblade 3, were also announced. No dates or looks at these figures yet. And just on the Amiibo front, that was really surprising to me, because these are coming over a year after this game's launch. The game came out last July, and we're just now getting Amiibo for these two protagonists. Yeah, that really surprised me, but they were the only protagonists not to get one, since we've got the 2 covered and 1 covered from Smash Brothers, and now 3 is covered through these. But Chris, I know you're not a Xenoblade guy, but you are an Amiibo guy. So
I am an Amiibo guy. I am not that much of an Amiibo guy. I will not be getting these.
Yeah.
It is a weird move, though. Like, Xenoblade sold pretty well, but not like, it's not Zelda. Tears of the Kingdom is getting 1 Amiibo. And this game is getting 4 a year after it's come out, almost a year after it's come out. It's an interesting choice.
Yeah, I honestly wonder, like, if there's still supply chain issues going on the Amiibo front. I look at the Splatoon 3 Amiibo. Game came out in September. Those Amiibo didn't come out until mid-November. So there was a 2-month delay on those. Tears of the Kingdom is getting 1 Amiibo. I think there could be a number of reasons for that. I think that a lot of the Amiibo, if they revealed them ahead of time, they would have been spoilery. Like, if they were like, a Ganondorf Amiibo, like, a year ago, people would have been like, oh, so I guess Ganondorf's in this game. So I wouldn't be surprised if they lined some more physical releases alongside, like, DLC, like they did with the Champions for Breath of the Wild. So I could see that. But yeah, Xenoblade 3, remember the collector's edition was a Nintendo Store exclusive, and it crashed the website for like a day when people were trying to get it. And now I guess it did well enough that they can justify this Amiibo run. But yeah, Xenoblade is becoming a more and more important series for Nintendo, and I like to see it getting the support.
Yeah, as for me, with regards to Xenoblade, I've played probably about 20 hours of 2, which to me feels like a lot of time. I know within like the grand scheme of that game, it's just scratching the surface. But yeah, I like the Xenoblade series. I burn out on them really quickly, for some reason. Like I've also played a little bit of 3, also enjoyed it, but then was like, but you know what? I should really beat 2 before I really dive into this. And then it's just kind of been sitting in my Switch library for months.
I think that Xenoblade 3 is like legitimately one of the best RPGs I've ever played. I just have not finished it. I played it for like 40 hours, and then I think Splatoon came out, and then it was gone, and I haven't touched it since. And it's one I just need to get back to, but like Mitchell said, it's an insane time, and like it's going to be Zelda, and then on the Nintendo front, there's Star Wars, and there's Final Fantasy 16, and then on Switch there's Pikmin 4, which I'm very excited for. It's like, when are you going to get back to
and
something?
Street Fighter 6, and Diablo 4, and a bunch of other things.
Yeah, this is the craziest year ever, and so it's just hard to get back to a JRPG that huge, but it is really good, and yeah, I hope it continues to be a big focus for Nintendo, because it is their premier JRPG, and yeah, I think it's cool seeing how that series went from, what was it called, Operation Moonfall or something like that on the
Rainfall?
Wii. Which one was it?
Operation Rainfall?
Yeah, Moonfall was for Majora's Mask at 3D or something like that. Yeah, yeah. To see it finally get brought over here, and now like it's a pretty big series for them. That's very, very cool. Another series that is coming back for the first time in a long time, Advance Wars, is out tomorrow, after the day this episode comes out. Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp. It's currently sitting at an 80 on OpenCritic, getting very good reviews across the board. I'm even seeing some people say that the visuals grew on them over time, which has been my constant criticism of this game. But I just wonder, Chris, how do you think this game needs to do for there to be a future for Advance Wars? Or do you think no matter what, there is no future for Advance Wars?
It's a tough call. Like, I understand them. Part of me feels like they're doing this for the nostalgia, right? Like they're doing it for the folks that were the GBA crowd growing up. And those games are hard to get a hold of at this point. I mean, they could have put them on Switch Online, but like we've come so far as in terms of what you can include in a game like that at this point, that it would be kind of a miss to not modernize it. I don't know that it has to do gangbusters necessarily. Like it doesn't have to do Animal Crossing numbers, but I could see it. Sorry, my cats are fighting right next to me. Come on. I could see it. If it did similarly to like a Xenoblade, them considering adding more to this franchise. I think honestly though, it's going to come down to the way it's received by the players. I don't know how they're going to gauge that. Primarily just because of like sales. They delayed this game. Well, sales, and because the way that this game was rolled out. It was obviously delayed because of the war. The war is still going on. Like, I feel like they released this because they knew they had to, and they wanted to get it out before Zelda. But I don't know that it would really sway them one way or another, to make another one.
Yeah, we've talked about the unfortunate timing of this series before, and just the world events surrounding previous game releases in this franchise. I don't know, I kind of feel like this is it for Advance Wars, so play it, enjoy it, but I don't know if I would expect anything more to come. There are more games to remake, but I don't know if we'll see it.
And I mean, I will say, like, it seems like it is very content rich. I don't think, you're if you're into strategy type games like this, XCOM, Mario plus Rabbids, like, definitely check this out. I think Nintendo Life gave it a 9. I tend to trust their reviews. If you're listening to the show, you probably listen to Nintendo Life as well. But yeah, they're good folks over there as well. I don't know what IGN is giving it yet.
I don't think they have a review of it up. Yeah.
I don't think they do yet. No.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that because Mitchell's here. We love we love IGN.
Do we? Yeah, obviously.
Do we?
Yeah. What do you think of Advance Wars, Mitchell?
I mean, I loved it when it was new on the Game Boy Advance. I don't remember a lot about like the story, or I remember the rock paper scissors element of the strategy. I remember like the way the screen kind of went to like a split screen thing of like big cartoony tanks and stuff that would fire and like knock away the other side. Other than that, a lot of it is a blur. As far as like the future of it, I think Fire Emblem has proven that there's a big market for strategy games depending on how they're packaged. If they do want to continue Advance Wars, they gotta change the name, because Advance Wars doesn't really do much when the Game Boy Advance is not really a thing anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, there's always room for more strategy games, and also, Mario and Rabbids has proved that there's room to expand on the strategy genre and kind of Nintendoify it. So I think if they can do that for Advance Wars and give it a new name, then there's definitely a future there.
I think the name works just because Advance sounds like futuristic, like whatever. I don't know. I think
isn't the series like the Wars series? Because there's like Famicom Wars,
yeah,
and then Battalion Wars on the GameCube.
Yeah,
which like I feel like is such a stretch even saying it out loud.
It's just a War series.
Yeah, the War series. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Battalion Wars also was not a very good game.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm a little bit worried about how this one's going to do. I'd love to be proven wrong, but I talked about it on a show a little earlier this month. When you look at Fire Emblem, just came out in January. Nintendo Switch's biggest exclusive maybe ever is less than a month away, and this game is squeaking out right in between. It just doesn't feel like it bodes well. And then, yeah, Fire Emblem did prove there's an audience for the strategy RPG on Nintendo platforms, but the further and further they went into the relationship sim side of things, the more and more popular it got. And Advance Wars has none of that. Like, that's just not what the series is about. It's tactics, and there's definitely an audience for that, but it's a much smaller audience. And you just pair it with the release timing. I don't know.
Do you believe love can bloom on the battlefield?
I don't know. And do the units even have names? Is it like Tank 1 falls in love with Tank 2? Yeah.
I mean, I will say, like, there are definitely other Nintendo franchises, dormant Nintendo franchises, that deserve to come back before Advance Wars does.
Which ones would you revive?
I mean, if there's one thing that Pizza Tower this year has confirmed,
yes,
it's that there is a ravenous fan base that wants Wario Land to come back. So I think you can't look at Pizza Tower and not be like, oh man, maybe we should make another Wario game.
Yeah.
That's a great pick. Wario and Donkey Kong. Like, why did they just stop making games for them? Yeah, we have WarioWare still on Switch, but like the last time we got a DK platformer was Tropical Freeze in a decade ago. When was the last Wario platformer? Was it Shake It on Wii?
Wario Land Shake It on Wii.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That is going way back. Yeah, it's been just little minigame collections for Wario ever since. That's a good pick. Yeah, that's a good pick. I'd like to see a new Wario game.
Also, F-Zero.
There we go.
Make the fans
there
happy.
it is.
There it is.
I think people would be mad if we didn't mention F-Zero. So there's your F-Zero mention.
I was going to mention it because I mention it, I think, every week on this show. Yeah, I need that. I need that game back in my life. But yeah, I hope Advance Wars does well. I'm going to pick it up and play it. I want to talk about it on the show. I don't know when. I was hoping to pick it up and play it on the plane this weekend, but we leave Friday morning, and you know me, I'm a physical games boy, so I'm not buying this digitally. So we'll see. But yep, hopefully it does okay in the sales department. Last topic here for today's show. Let's talk about the Indie World Showcase that was earlier today, Wednesday, the day we're recording. A lot of great stuff here. I had each of you guys pick one game to highlight from the Indie World Showcase. And Mitchell, I'll go your way first.
So the game that I would want to highlight is Animal Well. This is a game that I saw at Summer of Games last year. Didn't get to play it, but just looking at it, it definitely has a very striking art style. It's also being produced by, was it Big Mode, Donkey's new publishing platform.
Mm-hmm. Donkey was in this presentation.
Yeah.
Which was surprising.
He was.
And you know what? It looks great. I think it looks really, really cool. It looks like a Metroidvania where it doesn't seem like it has a very heavy combat focus. It's more about the platforming. It's more about using items to kind of manipulate animals to do certain things. But yeah, it looks really, really cool, and I'm always down for a good looking Metroidvania. So I'm into it. And what I like about it also is that it's a it looks like a Metroidvania that's also doing its own thing. It's not just trying to be another Castlevania. It's not trying to be another Metroid. It's very much doing its own unique thing, which I think looks really cool.
Yeah, I thought that one looked great. Chris, what one do you want to talk about here?
It is Rift of the Necrodancer. I keep wanting to say Crypt because that's the original title from the first game. It is a sequel by the same developers of that game, but Guitar Hero style. You have that track runway where you're fighting enemies and monsters and things like that. But I was a huge Guitar Hero fan growing up, and Rock Band as well. It's been a long time since I've played one of those types of games, and we haven't really gotten one in a while. Obviously, you won't have an instrument or anything like that, but it seems like they're changing up the formula enough as well, where enemies are going to come through at like different paces. So you're going to have to figure out like the button combinations there, which could keep things interesting. So yeah, that's definitely my pick. I was very surprised to see that one announced, because I think the last thing we got from them was Hyrule, right?
Cadence of Hyrule.
Yeah. We've seen Rift of the Necrodancer before. This was just its first time in a Nintendo event. With
oh wow, really?
Yeah,
first time I saw it.
Yeah, it was the first time I saw it too.
At some event like last year. Yeah, but this was, I felt like, a bigger stage for it, and yeah, it was really cool.
One other one I'll bring up, if you're a Vampire Survivors fan, is Brotato. That's on Steam now. If you are a PC player, it's just like another type of Vampire Survivors game.
Cool.
One other thing about Rift of the Necrodancer that stood out to me was that there's Rhythm Heaven mini games were in there. So that was something that caught my attention and made me more interested. It seems like there's going to be one for each of the major people that you face off against. So,
Taking that yoga class.
5 of them, I think. So that's not a ton, but it definitely is Rhythm Heaven inspired, which is really cool to see in there. Because that's another franchise that needs to come back. Yeah, that one looked really cool. That would have been one of my picks, but I went with a couple others. Oxenfree 2, I was a fan of the first one, and it's exciting to see. This game's been delayed. Studio went under ownership change. They're under Netflix now, and it's finally coming out and looks cool. There's a new walkie-talkie feature where you can talk to other people around the island. And Oxenfree is this visual novel, choice-based kind of horror adventure, kind of point-and-clicky game that is. I played it on Switch, and it's on basically every platform. But so that's getting a sequel that looks very cool. And then Crime O'Clock really spoke to me. That game looked cool. It's this black and white kind of mystery detective game where you're solving cases across time and space, and when you make a breakthrough in one era, it changes events in another. So you're kind of piecing together, bouncing back and forth between these different time periods. That one looked very cool, a cool, very notable black and white, striking art style, and that's coming in June. So it was a good showcase. I'm a little bit tired of that. If Silksong's not there, it's a failure. No, there's other cool games absolutely worth highlighting, and I thought this was a good show.
Was I disappointed Silksong wasn't there? Absolutely. Did it ruin the showcase? No.
I feel like Silksong is no longer an indie world thing.
No, I feel like it's an E3 thing at this point. It's that echelon.
I don't think it's ever been an indie world thing. Hollow Knight is widely regarded as one of the best, games of all time at this point.
Yeah.
Unless
I think that when
you gotta leave that there's gonna be Silksong and get people interested, not just use it as a surprise.
Yeah. I think when it was announced originally, it was an indie showcase game. Silksong, not Hollow Knight. Mm-hmm. But that was way before when I think it was. It might have been Breath of the Wild or the year after Breath of the Wild. They had a whole demo on Nintendo's Treehouse Live, and it was the last time anybody saw it for years. But now it's you go on Fangamer. God, how many freaking plushies do they have? This game.
It was first announced in February 2019. I think that was a standard direct. I think that was a normal Nintendo Direct that was announced in. And then the last time I think we saw it was when Xbox said this is going to be on Game Pass. And so to me that says maybe they swooped in there with some dollars and they'll host the announcement now. So I don't even expect it in a Nintendo show anymore. I think.
And theirs is what in 2 months, I think, right? They're having their own showcase.
June,
So I bet we'll see it there. Yeah. All right, but that was the indie world. Of course, we ended up talking about Silksong, but that's about it for our show. But while we have Mitchell here, I want to ask him, Mitchell, have you played / do you like Kid Icarus Uprising on the Nintendo 3DS?
I have played a little bit of it.
Okay.
I was kind of lukewarm on it.
Okay. There we go. That's the other game I bring up on this show every week because I love that game. Yeah, and I thought you being an action aficionado, I could have seen it go either way, where you would have really liked it or hated the controls.
I was going to say, wasn't there a touchscreen control kind of thing going on with it?
Uh-huh. Yeah, you can control the camera with the touchscreen.
They shipped it with a stand to make it more comfortable.
I think that was the thing that turned me off from it.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, well, that is our show. That's another episode of the Toadstool Boardroom in the books. Mitchell, thanks so much for joining us this week. It was a lot of fun.
Thanks for the invite, man. I really appreciate it.
Where can people find you and your work online?
You can find me on Twitter at Jurassic Rabbit. You can find my work at IGN.com or Twitter.com/IGN. I'm sure you can find IGN through other means, but that's generally where you'll find my work.
And Chris, where can people find you?
You can find me at Tribes93.
You can find myself at Logan J. Plant, and I'm posting all the Zelda stuff I'm writing, which is quite a lot of it. So if you want even more kind of theories and stuff like that, I can't believe some of the stuff IGN's letting me write about in terms of what I think is happening in this game. It's been kind of a dream come true to write all these theories. So yeah, go check that stuff out. But you can find it on IGN or on my Twitter at Logan J. Plant. You can find the show at ToadstoolBR. You can email us, toadstoolboardroom@gmail.com. Remember, this is our last up-to-date show for the next few weeks. So if huge Nintendo news breaks in the next 3 weeks, you won't hear us talking about it on our shows because you'll be hearing our pre-recorded list of the top 15 Nintendo games of all time. I can't wait to hear what you all think of the list that we put together. And then we will be back in 4 weeks from now to talk about our first impressions of Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. But have a great week. Hope you enjoyed the show. We really appreciate you listening to it. And we'll catch you next time right here in the Toadstool Boardroom.
Bye.